Let's start with some national news first, where Sri Lankan Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe will begin his 4-day visit to India from today with an aim of boosting bilateral talks. Now, Wickremesinghe will be holding wide-ranging talks with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday, during which the vexed fishermen issue is likely to figure. At least 20 people were feared trapped in debris after a 4-story plastic factory in Ludhiana city caught fire and collapsed on Monday. The cause of the fire is not yet known. Reportedly, at least 3 people were killed in the mishap, and residents living close to the factory vacated their houses. Hundreds of school children participated in a walkathon in India's southern Hyderabad city on Monday to mark Universal Children's Day. The walkathon was aimed at generating awareness about child sex abuse and emboldening the victims to come forward and report their perpetrators. Students walked through the streets of Hyderabad carrying placards reading "Stop Child Rape." Well, to some international news now, and Zimbabwe's ruling ZANU-PF party officially has notified President Robert Mugabe of his removal as party president and will table a motion to impeach him today. This after a deadline that it had set for his resignation had passed, and the ZANU-PF on Sunday had removed Mugabe, who had led the party since 1977 and has been in power for well over 37 years. Now, the party has also fired his wife, Grace Mugabe, capping a dramatic week after the military had seized power on Wednesday last week. The University of Zimbabwe's students protesting against President Robert Mugabe caused the institution's examinations to be postponed. The students took to the streets of Harare to sing anti-Mugabe songs and display anti-Mugabe placards. Their protest followed Mugabe's televised address on Sunday, when he had defied expectations that he will tender his resignation. US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson has said that the move to designate North Korea as a state sponsor of terrorism will help dissuade third parties from supporting Pyongyang. North Korea is pursuing nuclear weapons and missile programs in defiance of the UN Security Council sanctions and has made no secret of its plans to develop a nuclear-tipped missile which is capable of hitting mainland United States. China's special envoy to North Korea has wrapped up a 4-day visit, apparently without meeting the country's leader Kim Jong-un. Song Tao has exchanged views with North Korean officials on the geopolitical issues affecting the region. Tensions between North Korea and the United States have increased in recent months as Pyongyang continues to develop its nuclear program. Personnel from the Chinese and the US armies have finished their 13th exchange on humanitarian assistance and disaster relief at Camp Aurelia in Oregon on Sunday. Now, the Army commander of the Southern Theater Command of the Chinese People's Liberation Army has said that the exchanges between the Chinese and the US armies on humanitarian disaster relief and rescue efforts have boosted their mutual trust over the past 20 years. The week-long exchange began on the 13th of November as part of a 20-year tradition between China and the United States. Now, negotiations in Mexico to update NAFTA have not made much progress on the tough US demands that could sink the 1994 trade pact in the North Atlantic. But the current round of talks is reportedly progressing, and participants are close to the 5th round of talks, have told the media. Mexico and Canada say that the proposed new rules of origin from the United States are unworkable and will damage the highly integrated auto industry in the North Atlantic. The members of the Pakistani transgender community have mourned their dead and have called for recognition of trans rights, staging what they call a street catwalk in the port city of Karachi. Now, 20th of November is International Transgender Day of Remembrance, a day that is devoted to remembering the transgender people who died as a result of transphobic hate crimes. Now, Argentina has confirmed that it has received signals from the military submarine that went missing last week off the country's coast. The San Juan submarine has reported an electrical problem and was headed back to the base when it suddenly went off the radar last week in the South Atlantic. It was then that the storms had complicated efforts to find the vehicle and its 44 crew members who were on board. The EU Brexit negotiator Michael Barnier has said that the European Union wants to negotiate an ambitious trading partnership with Britain after Brexit. But Barnier added that it will only do so once divorce issues are settled and are on the basis of fair competition, including on tax, food, safety and environment standards. Now, Barnier has said that while the EU wanted an ambitious future trade partnership with Britain, access to EU's single market will be at terms which are inferior to the current full membership, and there could be no cherry picking of single market areas. Now, Amsterdam and Paris have won the right to host two EU agencies that must leave London because of Brexit after an extraordinary ministerial meeting in Brussels that left both results decided by drawing lots from a glass bowl. The European Medicines Authority, a key element in the continent's healthcare industry, will go to Amsterdam, which tied with the favourite Milan. The European Banking Authority will go to Paris, winner in the lucky dip over Dublin. Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo has arrived in London on Monday for a three-day official visit to the United Kingdom. The President was welcomed to 10 Downing Street by British Prime Minister Theresa May, who congratulated Ghana on 60 years of independence. The pair were expected to discuss cooperation and bilateral relations ahead of next year's Commonwealth Summit. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has met with the Spanish King Felipe as he began an official visit to the country. On the agenda was Palestine's sovereignty, its relationship with Israel, as well as its internal politics. In an address, King Felipe has stressed the need for a two-state solution to the Israel-Palestine problem. Veteran Venezuelan opposition leader Antonio Ledesma under house arrest after his 2015 arrest for alleged coup plotting and managed to escape across the border to Colombia and arrived in Bogota via the plane on Friday. Now, Ledesma, the best-known detained opponent of leftist President Nicolas Maduro, has said that he had gone past the 29 police and army controls during a clandestine overland journey that he kept secret from his loved ones. The police have fired tear gas canisters to disperse protesting opposition party supporters in Mathare slum in Nairobi, where opposition leader Raila Odinga enjoys the backing of his supporters. The opposition supporters were protesting after Kenya's Supreme Court unanimously upheld the re-election of President Uhuru Kenyatta in the second rerun of the elections that had been first held in the month of August. Around 100 of Catalonia's firefighters gathered in Barcelona to protest against Article 155, which allowed the Spanish government to apply direct rule on the northeastern region and also to call for the release of the imprisoned separatist activists and former members of the Catalan government. The firefighters used their yellow and black helmets to form the shape of a huge yellow ribbon on the ground. The event coincided with the 42nd anniversary of the death of Spanish dictator Francisco Franco. The Lebanon's President Michael Aoun has appeared to defend the country's Iran-backed Shiite Hezbollah group as necessary to resist Israel. This after an Arab League statement had accused the group of terrorism, noting that it was part of Lebanon's coalition government. The Arab League had met on Sunday to discuss what it called the Iranian interference in Arab countries and accused Hezbollah of terrorism. However, the leader of Lebanon's Hezbollah has said that his Iran-backed group had not sent any weapons to Yemen and has denied that it was behind the ballistic missile attack that was launched at Riyadh from the territory that is held by the Yemeni Houthi rebels. Ms. Syed Hassan Nasrallah has also urged the followers to listen to the recent comments by Israeli officials, which he said clearly pointed to ties between Saudi Arabia and Israel. The US and the Afghan forces have launched joint operations on Taliban opium factories to try and curb the insurgent group's economic lifeline. The US Army General John Nicholson has shown videos at a press conference of targeted aerial strikes against what he has described as Taliban drug factories. The United Nations had said last week that opium production in Afghanistan had reached a record high this year, up from 87% last year. Now, videos posted online appeared to show heavy bombardment in the Syrian city of Harasta and in Douma, as well as their surrounding areas. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights has recorded operations that targeted the city of Harasta and the surrounding areas with more than 50 bombs since dawn on Sunday. They said that warplanes launched 10 incursions targeting Harasta and nearby areas. A boat was found spinning in circles off the coast of California on Sunday afternoon. The boat was spinning in the waters of Half Moon Bay with one unresponsive person, but the Coast Guard believes that 2 people were on board. A search is reportedly underway for the second possible passenger on this boat. A small aeroplane without its landing gear made an emergency landing at the St. Mary's County Regional Airport in Maryland. The plane circled the airport for at least an hour before executing the landing, skidding on the runway, emitting a small amount of smoke. Now, at least 14 people were killed and 35 others were injured when the bus that they were travelling in plunged down a ravine in rural northwestern Colombia. The bus skidded off the road when the driver swerved in an attempt to avoid hitting a motorcycle rider. A 3-hour non-stop rain has caused massive flooding on the streets of touristy city of Cartagena de Indias in Colombia on Friday morning. The videos and photographs shared on social media show the heavy flooded roads, people pushing their cars stuck on flooded streets, and some others using carts pushed by other people to get through. The local authorities have informed that the historic downtown of the Caribbean city was one of the most affected in the region. A 6-foot crocodile was an unexpected visitor taking a dip along Florida's Hollywood beach. Now, hundreds of onlookers were seen watching the large animal hit the waves as the wildlife officials responded to the incident. The crocodile was eventually caught by wildlife officials by Monday afternoon after being pulled onto the beach and having its large mouth taped shut. The Georgia Dome, home of the 1996 Summer Olympic Games, the Super Bowl and the college basketball's Final Four, was demolished in Atlanta in Georgia. The timed explosions went off as planned and the Georgian Dome imploded without any incident. The stadium was completed in 1992 and was home to the NFL's Atlanta Falcons until this year. A hotel, parking and green space will occupy the space where the dome had once stood. The Westminster Abbey has marked Queen Elizabeth and husband Prince Philip's platinum wedding anniversary with a full peal of its bells, involving 5,070 change of sequences, with the 70 reflecting the anniversary. This lasted more than 3 hours on Monday. The couple had got married in the Abbey on the 20th of November way back in the year 1947, just 2 years after the end of the Second World War, in a glittering ceremony which had attracted statesmen and royalty from around the world and huge crowds of cheering well-wishers. The US First Lady Melania Trump and her son Barron received an evergreen tree from Wisconsin. Christmas carols were played during the ceremony, which marks the official beginning of the holiday season at the White House. The tree will be on display in the Blue Room of the White House. The National Turkey Federation Chairman Karl Wittenberg introduced Turkey's drumstick and wishbone to Washington, D.C. during a 5-star ceremony at the luxury Villard Hotel. President Donald Trump will pardon the National Thanksgiving Turkey in the Rose Garden today in what will be the 70th anniversary of the National Thanksgiving Turkey presentation. Now, all aboard the New York Botanical Gardens holiday train show, the whistles blew as the trains chugged along the tracks through many of New York's most popular landmarks, including the Empire State Building, the Chrysler Building, and the Statue of Liberty. The New York Botanical Gardens holiday train shows in its 26th year and has become a must-see holiday tradition in New York. The women's clothing brand Victoria's Secret wraps up its first ever fashion show in China, designed by French fashion house's creative director Olivier Rosteig. The brand has launched their new line on the catwalk, including the much anticipated VX versus Balmain collaboration. A hip-hop mogul Russell Simmons, along with American filmmaker Brett Ratner, have been accused of teaming up to sexually harass and assault women. 17-year-old fashion model Kerry Clausen Khalihi has accused the duo of making sexual advances at her after a casting call way back in 1991. The Indian film director Rahul Ravel becomes the new chairperson for the Indian Panorama section of the 48th International Film Festival of India. The director replaces Sujay Ghosh, who has resigned in a protest against the government's decision to exclude 2 films from the festival. Iranian filmmaker Majid Majidi's film Beyond the Clouds opened at the International Film Festival of India, which is India's largest film event, which is being held in Goa presently. The 9-day extravaganza was inaugurated by Bollywood superstar Shah Rukh Khan. Bollywood actor and chairman of the Film and Television Institute of India, Anupam Kher, said that he was delighted to be a part of the festival. As many as 195 films from 82 countries will be screened at the 9-day extravaganza. In football, the ramifications of Italy's failure to qualify for the 2018 FIFA World Cup continue to be felt. The president of the country's football federation, Carlo Tavecchio, has resigned from his position after Monday's emergency meeting of the Italian Football Association, the FIGC. The 74-year-old has said that he was stepping down from his role before any vote was taken from the members over his future. Remember, Italy have failed to qualify for the World Cup for the first time in almost 6 decades, which also resulted in the sacking of head coach Gian Piero Ventura. Well, to some Champions League action, where reigning European champions Real Madrid will be travelling to Cyprus to face Apoel Nicosia with a chance of sealing qualification to the knockout stages. Zinedine Zidane's side sit second in Group H with 7 points, and just a point will be enough to see them through to the next round. In the other big match from the group, Tottenham Hotspur will be travelling to Germany to take on Borussia Dortmund. The North London club have already qualified for the knockout stage after thumping Real Madrid 3-1 in match week 4. The Borussia Dortmund face a must-win situation in match week 5. Failing to take 3 points will eliminate the Bundesliga outfit in the group stage of the Champions League for the first time since 2011.